Story 1. I started my night stalker job. The garden center was peaceful, despite a faint, unusual sweetness. I was Mike, needing a job. The garden center seemed harmless. I enjoyed solitude, arranging soil under quiet lights. The sweetness, like overripe fruit, was subtle. I attributed it to organic matter, a faint perfume in the vast space. Nights passed, I grew accustomed to the rhythm scent. Nothing changed, I thought. This piece was a dangerous illusion. Then anomalies began. Petunias I'd stalked seemed taller overnight. Impossible, plants don't grow that fast, I dismissed it. Next night the ferns, new fronds unfurled overnight. Unsettling speed, the sickly sweet odor intensified, becoming pervasive. It wasn't just growth, the smell was cloying, thick, like a perfumery gone wrong. It clung. I started taking photos. A hibiscus sapling grew inches, its buds visibly swollen, ready to burst. My rational mind struggled. Fertilizers? No, this was beyond horticulture. This was accelerated, unnatural. The scent became physical, a suffocating blanket. I took shallow breaths. Something was deeply wrong. Then came the shifts. Potted palms were closer to the main store, inches but enough to notice. I marked spots with chalk, morning lines untouched, but pots had minutely rotated or shifted. They inched, leaning towards the main store like silent sentinels drawn by unseen force. My skin prickled. One night I swore a large fern twitched, a distinct, deliberate movement of its fronds in my periphery. I froze, flashlight sweeping, nothing, plants still, but the image was seared. I knew what I saw. My heart hammered, overtired, imagining things. The sweet smell made me lightheaded. I needed to know. The plants felt aware, not conscious, but part of a larger organism. A disturbing thought burrowed in. The garden center felt like a living labyrinth. Every shadow, rustle, held sinister potential. I was no longer alone. Compelled by morbid curiosity, I checked the soil deeper. I needed answers and explanation. The soil was unnaturally damp, even in unwatered pots. It felt spongy, not earth but alien. Beneath, a strange, fibrous texture, not roots but a dense network of thin, hair-like tendrils pulsating faintly. Not just one pot, every plant had this unnatural substratum, everywhere. The fibrous mass felt organic, alive. It extended further than roots should, intertwining pots. My flashlight caught a faint shimmer on fibers like viscous dew. It smelled faintly sweet but stronger. A sickening realization dawned. These weren't individual plants. They were connected, part of something larger, hidden. The fibrous network felt like a nervous system, linking every leaf into a single, vast organism. I felt a chill. The sweet smell became suffocating, burning my nostrils. It was oppressive. I struggled to breathe. Then I heard it, a low, rhythmic thrumming, like a slow, deep heartbeat vibrating through the floor. It wasn't imagination. The thrumming was real, a visceral vibration. It was the pulse of something immense, alive. The sound intensified with the smell, a grotesque symphony. My head swam, dizzy with fear. I felt a primal urge. Plants swayed imperceptibly with the rhythm, leaves rustling, whispering a dark secret. The place felt alive. I felt a strange pull, morbid fascination. Despite terror, I needed to know what lay beneath. The air grew heavier, sweetness suffocating lungs. It tasted metallic, like blood and sugar. My skin crawled. I knew with chilling certainty it wasn't natural. It was ancient, powerful, waking. I was witnessing something terrible. Driven by unease, I found an unused garden bed near the back wall, covered in tarps, perfect to dig. I grabbed a shovel, hands trembling. Every scrape echoed, amplifying fear, point of no return. The soil was looser, yielding. As I dug, sweet smell intensified, assaulting senses. Thrumming grew louder. My shovel struck something soft, yielding, not rock, not pipe. It was organic, firm. I dropped the shovel. I knelt, frantically clawing soil with bare hands, ignoring grime, smell, fear. I had to see, I had to know. What I uncovered stole my breath, a vast, pulsating network of grotesque, thick tendrils interwoven with foundation. These weren't roots I knew. They were alien, monstrous, glistening with viscous, amber sap, smelling sweet and metallic. The tendrils pulsed with internal light, bioluminescence, illuminating the dark cavity. They were alive, undeniably. Wrapped around electrical conduits, pipes, beams, the entity was consuming the store, integrating it into its monstrous body. The thrumming was deafening, vibrating through my body. It was the entity's ancient heartbeat, echoing through Home Depot. I understood this wasn't just a plant. It was an ancient, parasitic entity using the garden center as its lure. It fed on energy, on life. Customers, drawn by beauty and sweet scent, unknowingly sustained it, feeding its monstrous growth. A thick, rope-like tendril uncoiled. It snaked upwards, brushing my hand with a cold, slimy touch, then quickly retracted. Overwhelmed by terror, sweet stench, and slimy touch, I dropped my flashlight. It plunged into darkness. I fled. I quit the next day. I couldn't articulate the horror, but the sickly sweet scent still haunts me near retail stores. I avoid Home Depot now. Is the entity still growing, feeding, unnoticed beneath our feet everywhere? The horror continues. Story 2. I'd been a special orders associate at Home Depot for 15 years, seen every weird request from custom-sized lumber to exotic tiles. My desk was my sanctuary until it started. This happened to me. My calm was shattered when it started. A subtle shift, a whisper of something new in the digital hum of the system. I didn't know then that my sanctuary was about to become a doorway. The first anonymous order arrived, the request, a perfectly silent chime. I remember laughing it off, thinking it was a prank from a bored coworker who orders silence. But the system processed it. No customer name, no payment method, just awaiting delivery from an unknown vendor. It was impossible, yet there it was, an active order in my queue. Then more impossible orders followed. A shadow that whispers, the weight of a forgotten sin, each one more cryptic, more unsettling than the last. My laughter died. Always anonymous, always from inside our digital system. It bypassed all protocols, appearing as if generated by the system itself. This wasn't a prank. This was wrong. I started tracking them, desperately searching for a loophole, a source, but there was nothing. Just a growing list of surreal, non-existent items waiting to be delivered. Then they started arriving. The silent chime was the first. It wasn't a chime at all. It was a polished obsidian sphere about the size of a bowling ball. When I held it, a strange pressure filled the air. All ambient sound around it seemed to vanish, absorbed into its depth. A profound, unsettling silence. It was real. The shadow that whispers arrived next. It was a canvas, but not painted. It was a constantly shifting, inkai stain, pulsating softly. I could feel a palpable cold emanating from it. These items appeared in the special orders pickup bins. No labels, no tracking numbers I recognized, yet they were unmistakably linked to the impossible orders in the system. They felt wrong, some subtly pulsed with a faint energy. Others radiated an unsettling dread that made the hairs on my arms stand up. This wasn't merchandise. I tried to report it. I called IT, explained the impossible orders, the strange items. They found no anomalies, no breaches, nothing. They thought I was overworked. Management dismissed my concerns as stress. "Take a break, you've been here too long," my manager said. How could I explain items that defied reality? But the items kept coming, each one more unsettling, more personal. It felt like they were tailored somehow to my subconscious fears. My reality was unraveling. The digital system itself began to glitch. My monitor would flicker, displaying cryptic messages for a split second before returning to normal, just enough to unnerve me. Unlisted order codes would flash across the screen, gone before I could read them fully. A sense of urgency, a hidden language I was meant to decipher. I'd hear faint whispers from the speakers when no one was around. Not words exactly, but a low, guttural murmur that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The store started to feel off, a pervasive chill in the air, even near the heaters, cold spots near my desk where no draft existed. Tools would rattle on their own from empty aisles, a metallic clatter echoing in the cavernous space. I'd rush to check, but find nothing disturbed. The feeling of being watched, always, from the empty aisles, from the corners of my vision, a pervasive, unseen presence that followed my every move. The items seemed to be affecting the very fabric of the store. The lights would flicker, the air grew heavy. It was like the building itself was sick. One order arrived that paralyzed me with dread. The request, the exact moment of your greatest regret. My blood ran cold. How did it know? The item was a tarnished silver locket, old, weighty, chilling to the touch. It appeared in my designated pickup bin, waiting for me. I opened it. Inside, a blurred, distorted image. It took a moment for my brain to process, for the terror to truly sink in. It was my own face. Contorted in a silent scream, eyes wide with pure, unadulterated terror. It was the face I made the night I found my brother, the moment of my greatest regret. It knew. It wasn't just observing, it was probing, harvesting. It was reaching into my mind, pulling out my most private horrors. I felt utterly violated. I couldn't breathe. The store, once my sanctuary, now felt like a trap. I had to know what this was, where it came from. I had to stop it. That night, I stayed late. The store was empty, silent save for the hum of the old fluorescent lights. I was determined to trace the source, whatever the cost. I accessed the special orders system, delving deeper than I ever had, using every backdoor and override I knew. I needed answers. The system groaned, a digital sigh. The screen flickered violently, then went black. A profound, absolute darkness consumed the monitor. Then a single, pulsing red cursor appeared. It wasn't blinking, it was beating like a distorted heart. My own heart hammered in my chest. Text began to type itself onto the black screen. Slowly, deliberately, character by agonizing character. It wasn't me typing. "We are here." Each letter burned itself into the display, chilling me to the bone. A collective, monstrous voice in digital form. "We want more." The second line appeared, the words resonating with an insatiable hunger. I felt a cold dread seep into my very bones. "We want you." The final line. It wasn't just items it wanted me, my essence, my fear, my existence. The monitor then changed. The text vanished, replaced by static, but it wasn't random noise, it was coalescing. A face forming from the pixelated static, distorted and grotesque, not human, yet disturbingly familiar. Its eyes. Its eyes, they burned into mine, two pinpricks of pure, malevolent light in the digital chaos. They saw everything. They saw me. A final order appeared beneath the monstrous visage, not for an item but a demand, simple, terrifying, your essence. I screamed, a raw, primal sound ripped from my throat. I stumbled back from the desk, knocking my chair over. I fled out of the special orders department through the silent, cavernous store. The emergency exit alarm blared behind me, but I didn't care. I resigned the next day, no explanation, just a terse email. I couldn't go back, I knew what waited there. The store later reported strange occurrences, unexplained power surges, objects moving on their own. The whispers continued. Eventually, the special orders department was closed, permanently. They boarded it up, hoping to contain whatever had been unleashed. But sometimes when I'm online, I see a flicker, a misplaced pixel in a video, a shadow in the corner of my screen. I know it's still out there, not confined to one store, one system. It's looking for another digital gateway, another connection. Another unlisted item to bring into our world, and I wonder, what did it take from me that night? Was it just my fear, or did it steal a part of my soul, a sliver of my very essence, leaving me forever changed, forever haunted? The digital world is vast, interconnected, a perfect hunting ground. I live with the knowledge that someday it might find me again. This is my true horror. Story 3. I'm Mark, Home Depot maintenance. A low hum beneath the store has grown unsettling for weeks. No one else notices it but me. The hum became my constant companion. Colleagues shrugged, oblivious. It burrowed into my thoughts. I felt increasingly isolated. Blueprints offered no explanation for the hum's origin. It shouldn't exist, yet it pulsed deep beneath us, a hidden rhythm. My search became obsessive. The hum was strongest near back storage. It throbbed, a living pulse calling me closer. Under dusty Halloween decorations, I found it, a faint seam in the concrete floor. My heart hammered with dread. It took an hour with a pry bar. The panel groaned, resisted, then lifted. Cold, stale air rushed out. Below, a cramped, dark passage, a rough shaft descending into void. My flashlight vanished. The hum was palpable. Beyond logic, the hum pulled me. I lowered myself onto rough stone steps. Each echoed in the suffocating silence. The descent felt endless. Air grew heavy, colder. The hum resonated deep in my chest, a guttural growl. My light caught a vast, cavernous sub-basement, raw, carved from earth, dripping, ancient, forgotten. On a crude stone slab lay tools, bone, wood, sharpened stone, primitive, horrifying, unlike anything modern. A faint, sweet, metallic scent hung heavy, like old blood. Dread pierced me. This was a place of dark purpose. Walls covered in crude carvings, robed figures around a slab, a kneeling form, a sacrifice. I froze. Above them, a looming, shadowy figure, not human, elongated limbs, hollow eyes, pure malevolence. The hum was all around me, a physical pressure vibrating through stone, through my bones, a vast heartbeat. I was drawn to the slab, to the tools, an irrational pull. Bone knives, obsidian blades, a human femur mallet. A chilling cold washed over me from within, a tendril of ancient despair. The hum intensified to a growl. I felt a presence, an ancient consciousness, dormant, now awake, its unseen gaze fixed on me. The air crackled. It was awakening because of me. My intrusion disturbed something evil, its silent roar. An overwhelming impulse seized me. I had to touch them. My hand reached for the serrated bone knife. My fingers brushed it, cold, a searing flash. Visions flooded my mind, ancient rites, terror. The metallic scent overpowered me. I tasted bitter blood. The entity pulled me, grasping. My mind screamed. Not just visions, a cold, intelligent entity probing my thoughts. It wanted me. I felt its hunger. I fought back, a primal struggle. My body convulsed, rejecting intrusion. Every fiber screamed escape. The hum roared in my mind. Carvings writhed. The sub-basement became a living, breathing maw. I scrambled backward, tripping, my heart frantic. Get out, seal it, never look back. The entity's silent rage pursued, a cold fury pressing my back, urging surrender. I fumbled for the steps, hands slick with fear, upward, away from the darkness. The passage felt endless. Shadowy hands reached from below, trying to pull me back. My head broke through the storage room's stale air. I pulled myself out, collapsing, gasping. My body ached, mind reeled. Seal it, close the gate, put the horror back. The heavy concrete panel, I strained, pushing. It scraped, echoing rage, a sound of containment. With a sickening thud, it clicked into place. Sealed for now, heart hammering, scent clinging. I stood shakily. The hum was gone, replaced by a terrifying silence. I never reported it. Ancient tools, evil entity. They'd think me mad. Carvings, shadowy figure, bone tools burned into my mind, a constant torment. The hum was gone, but cold dread remained, a gnawing unease, always on edge. I felt watched, its unseen gaze, once fixed below, now followed me everywhere. The sub-basement was still there, beneath the bustling store, its dark, secret heart waiting. I avoided that section, sent others, I wouldn't go back there. Sometimes, late at night, whispers, not real voices but echoes in my mind, insidious. I feared what I'd awakened, an entity centuries dormant, now hungry because of me. What if a piece came out with me, a fragment of its malevolence tainting my soul? Nightmares plagued me, shadowy figure, hollow eyes, old blood. I'd wake gasping, cold sweat. I saw things in the periphery, a flicker, a shadow too deep, my heart knew. The tools, were they conduits or held they the entity's essence, haunting? I'd stare at ordinary objects, a cold, twisted thought, darker uses far from construction. It grows stronger, the unseen presence. Patient, it waits, watches, knows I'm here. Will the hum return, calling others, or calling me, demanding my return? I dread it. This story isn't over, the entity is awake, a cold touch on my shoulder, it's coming for me. Story 4. I always thought the night shift at Home Depot was the definition of boring. Just me, the glow of monitors, and the occasional mouse scuttling past. This happened to me, and it changed everything I knew about reality. My routine was sacred: coffee, check perimeter cameras, then settle in. I never expected anything more exciting than a misplaced pallet, until the glitches started, that is. It began subtly, a mere flicker in aisle 17 feed. I remember brushing it off, attributing it to old equipment. Just a bad connection, I told myself, nothing to worry about. Then another flicker, a bit more pronounced. It was a momentary distortion, like a dropped frame. My eyes lingered on aisle 17, but it quickly returned to normal. The specific camera for aisle 17 started feeling off. It wasn't just the flickers, there was a peculiar static quality to its feed, even when still. A faint hum seemed to emanate from it. One night, a fleeting shadow darted across the aisle. It was too quick, too amorphous to be real. I blinked, convinced my eyes were playing tricks on me in the dim light. I immediately rewound the footage, my heart giving a small jolt. Frame by frame, I searched. Nothing. The aisle was pristine, empty, just as it should be. It was unnerving. Was I imagining things? The thought chilled me. Sleep deprivation, maybe. I tried to rationalize it, but the image of that impossible shadow lingered in my mind. The next night it reappeared, slightly longer this time, a darker smudge against the industrial backdrop. It moved with an unnatural speed, defying physics. A growing unease settled in my chest. This wasn't just a faulty wire. This felt deliberate, like something was trying to announce its presence. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The pattern continued nightly. Every few hours, aisle 17 would glitch, a fleeting shadow, a momentary warp. It was becoming a haunting routine, a digital phantom. I started feeling a sense of being watched, even in the security room. The hairs on my neck would prickle, and I'd instinctively glance over my shoulder, finding nothing. The glitches were no longer isolated incidents. They were a regular event, a scheduled appearance by something I couldn't explain. A cold dread seeped into my bones. I tried desperately to find a rational explanation. Electromagnetic interference, a prank, but no logical answer fit the impossible distortions I was witnessing nightly. I even called maintenance. They checked the camera, the wiring, the server, everything checked out fine. Must be your imagination, the tech chuckled. I knew better. Then the distortions grew bolder, no longer just shadows, but fleeting, impossible figures. They were like corrupted data made visible, unsettling, and terrifying. I watched as shelves in aisle 17 appeared to shift, their contents blurring like a stop-motion nightmare. It was a rapid, impossible restructuring of the physical space. A figure half-formed, a mosaic of static and shadow, stood momentarily in the corner of the frame. It had no distinct features, just an outline of malevolence. It moved unnaturally, not walking, but glitching from one spot to another like a corrupted video game character. This was beyond any technical fault. Again, I rewound, my fingers trembling on the controls, and again, nothing. A pristine, empty aisle. The discrepancy was maddening, eroding my grasp on reality. The gap between what I saw live and what the playback showed was a chasm. It felt like the entity was mocking me, playing a cruel game with my sanity. My sleep became a fragmented nightmare of flickering screens and shifting aisles. I'd wake in a cold sweat, unable to shake the images from my mind. Even during the day, the store felt different. A chill lingered in aisle 17, a palpable tension. I avoided walking through it, a growing dread weighing on me. All other cameras remained pristine, their feeds clear and normal. Only aisle 17, the specific focus of this digital haunting, continued its malevolent display. The figures were becoming clearer, more defined, not quite human, but with enough semblance to be deeply unsettling. They seemed to be reaching, beckoning. Then the whispers started, faint at first, emanating from the speakers in the security room, a low, guttural murmur just at the edge of hearing. A chill, unrelated to the air conditioning, permeated the surveillance room. It was a deep, bone-aching cold, an unnatural presence that settled around me. My sanity began to fray. I questioned every sound, every shadow. Was I truly seeing and hearing this, or was I succumbing to the isolation of the night shift? Were these real sounds or merely echoes in my own mind? The line between reality and hallucination blurred, twisting into a terrifying uncertainty. The whispers seemed to call my name, a distorted, digital voice, barely coherent, yet unmistakably addressing me. It was a terrifying personal invitation. A constant low hum now emanated from the aisle 17 monitor, a vibrational frequency that resonated deep within my chest. It felt alive, pulsing. I started talking to myself, narrating my actions, trying to stay grounded. "It's just a screen, I'd repeat, but the words felt hollow. The fear was palpable, a cold knot in my stomach that tightened with every passing hour. This wasn't just a job anymore, it was a siege on my mind. I considered quitting, walking out, and never looking back, but something compelled me to stay, a morbid curiosity, a desperate need to understand. The entity felt like a presence, not just a glitch. It was aware, intelligent, and deeply malevolent. It was watching me, waiting for its moment. One night, the screen for aisle 17 flashed violently. A distorted face, a horrifying collage of pixels and shadows, pressed against the monitor from within. Static screamed from the speakers, a piercing, deafening shriek that assaulted my ears. It wasn't just digital noise, it was agony, a primal roar. It wasn't just watching anymore, it was trying to break asterisk through asterisk. The screen rippled almost like water, a membrane between worlds thinning before my eyes. The glass of the monitor felt cold, then hot to the touch. I pulled my hand back, a jolt of fear coursing through me. This was no longer just an image. A grotesque smile, a silent scream stretched across that digital face. It was a silent promise of horror, a terrifying invitation to its world. I felt faint. The entity began manipulating the physical store. Lights flickered throughout the entire building, not just aisle 17, plunging distant areas into momentary darkness. Tools fell from shelves in empty aisles, their clatter echoing through the vast store. I watched it live on other cameras, proving it wasn't just my mind, it was real. This was happening. The digital nightmare was bleeding into reality. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. There was no denying it now. The doors to aisle 17 swung open and closed independently, a rhythmic creak echoing through the silent store. It was beckoning me, calling me deeper. A sense of dread, thick and suffocating, permeated the entire building. It was no longer confined to the screen. It was a tangible presence, a cold breath on my neck. Then a voice synthesized from static and whispers filled the security room. It was clearer now, more direct, a chilling command. "Come to aisle 17, it rasped from the speaker, the words resonating with impossible authority. "Come and see what you found." My legs moved on their own, a horrifying compulsion. Flashlight in hand, its beam trembling, I walked towards the cursed aisle, drawn like a moth to a malevolent flame. There, the distortions materialized. A twisted, shadowed figure, no longer digital, stood before me. The aisle itself warped, a gateway forming where the glitches had been. I fled, screaming. The image burned into my mind. I left Home Depot, but the entity's digital tendrils had touched my mind. The fear that it's still out there, watching through every camera, every screen, never truly leaves me. Story 5. This happened to me. I needed paint for my home office, a space I loved. It was my sanctuary, my creative hub. A fresh coat of ocean whisper blue was overdue. I drove to Home Depot as I always did. The familiar orange apron greeted me, and I headed straight for the paint counter, ready to refresh my beloved workspace. The paint mixer, an old, well-used model, stood ready. I'd seen it countless times, a reliable workhorse. Today, however, it seemed different. A subtle hum felt off. I handed over my Ocean Whisper swatch. The associate, a young man I hadn't seen before, typed in the code, the machine whirred to life, but not as usual. It clunked erratically, shuddering violently. The associate frowned, tapping the side. It sounded like gears grinding against something they shouldn't. Then a high-pitched whine, like tortured metal. The machine strained, lights on its panel flickering wildly. It felt like it was fighting itself, resisting the process. The associate finally retrieved the can. He looked relieved, but I noticed a strange, almost nervous twitch in his eye. He handed it to me quickly. The Ocean Whisper looked right, but it had an unsettling, almost iridescent quality. A subtle shimmer, like oil on water, that wasn't usually there. I dismissed it. I told myself it was just the store lights or my imagination. Still, a faint unease settled in my stomach. I paid and left, paint can clutched tight. Back home, I prepped the office, laid down tarps. The can felt heavier than usual, almost dense. A peculiar coldness emanated from it. I opened the lid. The paint inside swirled with an unnatural depth, almost alive. It was beautiful, yet terrifying. The iridescence was undeniable now. I dipped the brush, the bristles absorbing the strange color. As the first stroke hit the wall, an immediate, profound coldness filled the room. It was bone-chilling. A sudden, inexplicable heaviness descended. The air became thick, almost viscous. Breathing felt laborious, like being underwater. Familiar objects in the office began to subtly distort. My desk lamp elongated, its shadow twisting. The bookshelves seemed to bend inward. The shadows deepened unnaturally, swallowing corners, making the room feel vast and empty. I felt a prickling sensation on my skin, as if watched. I tried to rationalize it, blaming the paint fumes, my own fatigue, but the dread was too potent, too real. I kept painting, desperate to finish. Each stroke intensified the feeling. The room was no longer my sanctuary. It was becoming something alien, something hostile. I hurried, my heart pounding. That night the nightmares began, vivid, terrifying visions of swirling, impossible colors, hues that didn't exist, screaming silently. I woke up disoriented, gasping for air, the cold heaviness of the office clinging to me. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming. Over the next few days, it only worsened. I avoided the office, but the dread followed me. The paint had seeped into my mind. I caught fleeting glimpses of impossible shapes in my peripheral vision, always in the direction of the painted room. Shadows moved when I wasn't looking. The painted walls themselves seemed to subtly breathe, a slow, rhythmic expansion and contraction, almost imperceptible but undeniably there. Faint, shifting vein-like patterns began to emerge on the surface. They pulsed with a dim, inner light like capillaries beneath skin. I rubbed my eyes, convinced it was exhaustion, optical illusions, but the patterns remained intricate and horrifying. My sanity felt stretched thin. Then the whispers began, faint, barely audible, like a collective sigh from the walls themselves. They were inaudible, yet I knew they were there. They grew louder, a low, guttural murmur, a chorus of unintelligible voices. They seemed to slither into my thoughts, twisting them. An intense, pervasive sense of dread washed over me. It was a cold, suffocating fear that seeped into my bones, a constant companion. It felt as if the color itself was poisoning my mind, dissolving my perception of reality. My thoughts became fragmented, dark, alien. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, judged by unseen eyes. The room was alive, and it knew me. It knew my fears. Compelled by terror, I knew I had to go back to Home Depot, back to the source. Maybe there was a way to undo this. The drive felt like an eternity. Each mile brought a fresh wave of anxiety. The familiar orange sign seemed to mock me. As I approached the paint counter, the old mixer whirred aggressively. It sounded like a growl, a challenge. It was waiting for me. Its screen flickered erratically, displaying impossible symbols. Not letters, not numbers, but jagged, menacing glyphs that pulsed with dark energy. It seemed to acknowledge my presence, its cold, mechanical gaze fixed on me. A silent, terrifying communication. It knew what it had done. I stumbled backward, a guttural cry escaping me. There was no help here, only the machine and its terrible, knowing stare. I fled, abandoning the store, abandoning any hope. The office was my only destination now, my terrifying prison. Back in my office, the transformation was complete. The walls were no longer painted surfaces, they were alive, a living tapestry of my deepest fears. The vein-like patterns pulsed with sickening intensity, forming tendrils that snaked across the room, reaching for me. The whispers coalesced, no longer faint murmurs. They became a single, malevolent voice, echoing from every surface, filling the air. I am ancient, it boomed, a voice that ripped through my very being. Older than your stores, older than your world. It revealed itself. The mixer was merely a conduit, a tool. It was an ancient, sentient consciousness, trapped yet thriving. I use your paint, it declared, to reshape reality, to bring forth worlds beyond your comprehension, one stroke at a time. My office was its latest masterpiece, a gateway. The blue wasn't paint, it was a living, breathing portal. I was trapped, a permanent, unwilling canvas. My body felt heavy, rooted to the spot, my mind a palette for its horrors. The whispers were now a constant symphony, a maddening chorus of impossible truths echoing the machine's triumph. My vision blurred, my perception warped. I was no longer in my home. I was everywhere and nowhere. The colors intensified, consuming me. I felt my essence dissolving, becoming one with the painted world. I am a permanent, unwilling canvas in the machine's expanding gallery. My terror, its finest pigment. Forever immersed in its terrifying, painted world, my scream unheard, lost in the vibrant abyss. The Home Depot paint mixer continues its work, churning out new realities, one can of unsettling color at a time, and I am here forever.